with a number of investments in different kinds of companies. I also provide consultancy, often to the same companies. My background is large accountancy firm and all things finance.
Brilliant. Thank you, David. I'll go over next to Joe. So Joe, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, sure. I'm Joe. I'm a partner at Playfair Capital, early stage VC fund based in central London. We've been around for about 10 years. We invest at the earliest stage. Although our average check size is about 400K, we've done about 60 deals into companies including Stripe and Kyra, you might have heard of. Yeah, that's me.
Brilliant. Thank you, Joe. And I'll go over next on my screen, which is Andrew.
Hi, I'm Andrew Davidson. Got an investment banking background. I've been investing in private companies for the last 12 years, raised over 100 million for various things. I've got a portfolio of about 8 investments at the moment. I'm an early stage investor. What I tend to do, I find the investments and then mentor and bring them in my network. I'm agnostic geographically, but I'm quite sector specific.
Brilliant. Thank you, Andrew. And last of all is Saloni, please.
Hi, I'm Saloni. I'm an angel investor and also an investor at Founders Factory and a former startup operator.
Brilliant. Thank you, Saloni. So I'm going to pass over to you, Michael. As you start talking, hopefully it will spotlight your camera over. So over to you, Michael, to introduce TwistedMirror.
Yeah, so TwistedMirror TV, it's a comedy factory, so developed in several platforms, iOS and Android apps and websites. So basically, we are a comedy app dedicated to short form content, so everything related to comedy, like stand. So we have developed with my business partner, TwistedMirror TV, through our SCIS approved company, TwistedMirror TV. So the Comedy Factory, it's a mix between short series, stand-up comedy clips, and award-winning short films. So we have British dry humor clips, we have French comedy, we have Chinese, we have American series, we have a bunch of great series showcased in one platform, the TwistedMirror TV. So why short form content? Because short form, it's the friendly mobile format, because now with the 5G coming up and people watching and enjoying content through their mobile phone, because the smartphone became the main source of entertainment since I would say 2015. So basically, like, people are enjoying content and mainly comedy content. So why we did create TwistedMirror TV? Because we find that obviously the attention span decreased for the last few years, and people don't have enough time to search for good content, premium content. So we decided with my business partner to develop TwistedMirror TV to have in one place great premium content, like comedy, sweet content. So the business models there are 2 models: the SVOD model, which is based on subscription, and ads based revenue model. So we start off with a very good deal for £1.99 a month with a free trial without ads. And then people want to, obviously nowadays, with the lockdown, we open up the our app for free for everyone. So it's already live now for free. So people can enjoy content, comedy content, wherever they are and whenever they want. So it's good. And in the coming weeks, we're gonna just create some ads with an ad agency in US, so people can still enjoy for free content, and then obviously ads coming along. So as you know, the VOD business is very competitive with like big actors like Netflix or Quibi in US. But because by 2025, the video traffic would be enormous, like up to 75% of the mobile traffic would be videos. Mobile entertainment is a new form of entertainment. So that's why we need to think of the future of the mobile entertainment. So even if we have Comedy Central, obviously, Netflix and Quibi, but TwistedMirror TV would be very low subscription fees compared to the others, focus on short form content, and also because we are creating our content through film festival, because apart from TwistedMirror TV, I run a festival. Sorry?
1 minute.
Okay, 1 minute, thank you. So basically, we are creating comedy content through film festivals. So what do we need now? Because the app is already running, we need the money to develop the app, to integrate TwistedMirror TV to smart TVs, because we can mirror, obviously, the app to your television, and obviously for marketing purposes. So the deal we have already, we signed a deal with Huawei, the Chinese firm, EE, to integrate TwistedMirror TV to the video app, and many others. So who we are? So my business partner, Errol Mustafov, is a very good videographer. Myself, I've got a production background, and Curti from Connect Digital, she's a very good consultant, and she's behind Connect Digital, the company, which is an online space company. Thank you very much for listening in. Any questions?
Super. Thank you very much, Michael. I know it's very hard for everybody to stick to the time. You would have heard this time Arno's gone. So for other people presenting after, this is the clue for you, okay?
No, that's fine. It's fine. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Saloni, I'm going to pass over to you first, Saloni, to pose a question, please.
Sure. So firstly, thank you for the presentation. I just was curious, I'm not super familiar with the media space, but I'm really curious as to how this compares with YouTube, because if I want to watch short form content and comedy, wouldn't I just use YouTube, and what differentiates you from them?
So very good questions, because we got this question all the time. The difference is we are creating premium content, because on YouTube, online, obviously online content is everywhere, including on YouTube. But the problem with YouTube is you get distracted by ads and tutorial and maybe, you know, different videos. But we are focusing on short form comedy. So for example, if you are watching French comedy, then you are not distracted with other French content. On TwistedMirror TV, you can switch from French comedy, for example, to British stand-up comedy. So once you are in this TwistedMirror TV space, then you are in a secure comedy environment. So there is no distractions. You're only distracted by the content itself.
Thank you. Does that answer your question, Saloni?
Yep, that's great. Thank you.
Joe, you are next over, so I'm going to pass over to Joe.
Thanks, Mikhail, for that great presentation. Yeah, I have a few questions, but I guess I'll stick to one. Maybe you could you tell me what sort of market validation you've done for the pricing structure? So, you know, how, you know, to what extent are you confident that there is a market out there for this content that people will be willing to pay for it?
So, very good question. Thank you very much. We launched it back in August, so 2019, August 2019, and we noticed that people, like the young people, don't want to pay for any more content. Like everything is for free on YouTube and so on. But people who have, you know, who have this. Who like films or short films don't have time so much, you know, during the daytime to search for good content. So they prefer to pay a small fee to get very nice and good content without ads. So that's why we split up our model. And basically, we've been talking with Huawei, the Chinese firm, and BT through EE. And basically, the new model now, the new age, I would say, of entertainment is through the mobile phone. So the new generation gonna enjoy short films and content through tablets, through smartphones. So we would need more and more video on demand website.
Thank you. Can I ask more questions, or is it one per judge? Ben?
I can take over. It's one per judge, and you can do 2 in one presentation. So
I'm going to do my second one now. Why not?
Okay,
so I've actually been reading a lot about the Netflix model. Yeah, so obviously one of the big issues that they had is that they didn't, they didn't own their own content. So once the content owners, so the large production companies, decided they wanted to own the entire value chain of online streaming, they basically either priced Netflix out, or, as in the case of Disney, just refused to supply their catalog to them. They just pulled it entirely. So one of, as an investor looking at this business, my fear would be that success could be your biggest risk, in that if you prove the model works, then all of the actual content owners will, or the publishers will think, okay, I'm going to do this myself, essentially, which is what we're seeing now in streaming. We call it the streaming wars, right? So what kind of plans do you have in place in the long term to create defensibility as a market leader?
So, yeah, it's a very good question, because it's always the same, at the start, people don't know how to distribute their content, so they offer and as it's streamed that to different platforms. But our long run plan is to get a proper comedy studio. So basically, we would produce our own comedy content everywhere. So basically, our niche market is obviously comedy lovers, but international people. So we could be based, for example, in Bahrain. I've been in touch with Bahraini's comedy clubs. So, for example, you can set up a Bahraini comedy hub over there. Then you do that in Paris as well. You do that in London, in New York, and you produce your own content for your own platform. And people can still license, obviously, you can still license others' productions, but you are looking after your own, I would say, your own comedy guys. So in the long run, TwistedMirror TV would be a big studio, a comedy studio with, production, distribution, and training, maybe, in the future. Yeah.
Great. Thanks for that answer.
You're welcome.
Brilliant. Thank you, Michael. I'm going to go over next to Andrew. Oh, Andrew, let me unmute you.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, thank you. Are you doing contemporary comedy, or are you going for people's back catalogs? I mean, I'm a huge fan of Jacques Tati, but I also like Peter Kay and more contemporary people. And obviously, different countries have different senses of humor. How are you going to manage that?
So, very good question. And to start with, I love Jacques Tati, and Playtime is one of my favorite comedy films ever. So at the minute, we only license some new comedy, okay, which is good. But in the long run, maybe we could get the catalog of Jacques Tati or Charlie Chaplin or whatever. But the question about the comedy in different places, it's to start with, I'm French, living in London. I've been lucky enough to travel around the globe before. And so I got, I could taste, I would say, comedies everywhere, like in India or in Middle East or in US. So I would say, the the good thing is we are international people, because Kurti, she's from India, I'm from France, my business partner is from Bulgaria, but lived in Dublin. So at the end, we need to target every audience. So and you need to listen to your customer as well. So, for example, in India yesterday, I was talking with a comedy production company in Mumbai. So we were just focusing on like for the local audience, for example, in Mumbai, what do they like? So do they like gags, or do they like pranks, call and stuff like this? But in France, for example, it would be more like web series or comedy films. And in Bahrain or in Dubai, it's more about stand-up comedy. And here in the UK, it's a bit of everything. So, but you need to have a good quality gag or good quality comedy stuff. So it's very, very good, very, very entertaining to work within the comedy industry, I would say. It's good.
Thank you, Michael. And then the last question is with David, please.
Hello.
Hi. I think I understand what you're doing, although I have to say I'm slightly worried about you moving from being a platform producer. But I mean, maybe that's a question for another time. The question I wanted to ask you is, how is what you're doing interesting for an investor? How are you going to make money for an investor? And that wasn't mentioned in your presentation. So I'd be interested to know where you think you're going to take this business to get a capital event or income or whatever it is, so that actually an investor gets some return on what they're doing, rather than just funding a platform and then funding a comedy studio and those sorts of things.
Very good question. Thank you very much. The thing is, like, how you get return on the investment, it's in the long run, like I would say, from 18 months, we're gonna get more traffic on the platform, because we place the TwistedMirror TV comedy offer to different video passes. In the UK, for example, EE, Vodafone, we have already some deal with Vodafone, EE, and Huawei. So by placing that comedy offer to those onto those video passes, then you got more subscribers. So you bring more advertisers and more subscribers. So at the end, more content comes in, because obviously content is key. So more we get subscribers, we can get more content. So at the end, and it's a worldwide platform. So we can just target at the end, like UK, Europe, Middle East, and at the end, Africa and Asia. So we're gonna have a huge return at the end. Once the brand is proper established, I would say, in the UK and elsewhere, then the investment, you will see a return on it, because you're gonna have more traffic, more subscribers, and more advertisers coming on board.
Okay, can I go for my follow-up to that then? So what's more important to you, the subscriptions or the advertising income? Because if it's the advertising income, why are you charging for subscriptions? I'm a bit confused as to the balance between that and how you think that's going to make money for you.
So especially during the lockdown, like even the best OTT or like streaming platform are struggling if you have to pay for that service. So everything is for free. So that's why we decided with my business partner to have an advertisement-based revenue model. But I think like once we get a certain number of subscribers, then like Spotify, people are gonna choose between a free version with ads or paid version without ads, and then it's up to the user at the end. But at the end, it's all about establishing the brand TwistedMirror TV onto that big VOD market. And I think like to get subscription, obviously you need good content. So it's everything works together. I know sometimes at the start it's a bit confused between AVOD model and SVOD, but at the end, like Spotify did, it works, because once you got the TwistedMirror TV name up there, then people would rather pay to get a premium content without ads, and some people would rather try TwistedMirror TV with ads. So at the end, more traffic brings more money.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Michael. That was really insightful. For everyone, that was TwistedMirror TV. And now, Michael, I'll just ask you if you can turn your video off. The judges can review their scoring. And next up, we will have Maxim. Maxim, I just need to turn your video on for you. I've just sent you a request to turn your video on, Maxim. And Maxim's here from Think Like Pro. So, Maxim, are you able to bring your screen up, please?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Okay, so Maxim, if you want to put it in full screen mode or something, we will get ready to start the timer.
Just 1 second. Yeah.
And it's over to you.
So, hello everyone. My name is Max. I'm a co-founder at Think Like Pro, and our deck is. Can you see my slides, by the way?
Yes, we can.
So basically, our presentation is not just a presentation, but also a demo of our concept. So I'll take you through what it looks like. So on the right-hand side at the top, we are simulating the thoughts of investor while putting together these slides. So we try to assume what the investor thoughts were, what he would like to see on this slide, and constructed the slide based on that. So the problem that we are solving is communications. Well, people are actually quite terrible at communicating. And as I am presenting to you right now, you know, in my thoughts, I have my background, I have my experiences, I have my surrounding, and obviously try to do it in the best way I can. But when the message comes across to you, you might not necessarily interpret it in the way I meant it. For businesses, this means and really translates into problems with customer service, lower productivity, stress in workplace, and even employee turnover. So talking about our solution, essentially we came up with this concept of guided thinking. Now, guided thinking makes you think, how would recipient perceive your communication rather than what you want to say. The way we're going to achieve this is by putting the user in front of the virtual recipient. So we are simulating the environment where recipient is asking the right question and the user is step by step providing the necessary answers. Well, instead of having a million words, I will show you a little demo for putting together a cover letter for a job application. So here it is. There's a little kind of icon of your future employer. And she's saying to you that, you know, she really wants you to get this job, and she will help you create a compelling cover letter that will give you the best chance of progressing on to the next stage. So then we go step by step on each block, and this future employer lady saying that here's a little challenge to start with. Try finding out my name to address me personally. Not a problem if you can't, but do your best to try. I'm having a crazy day with lots of applications. Could you please specify your name, position? We might have multiple openings, so tell me which one you're interested in. So essentially, we're showing how the recipient is thinking about your communication and what he wants to see. So the end product of our service is a compelling and persuasive piece of communication that could be used verbally or in writing. Our product would be our product would be delivered through browser extension. So essentially on every single page that has a text area, you will have, just like with Grammarly, a little logo. You can pick your scenario and then the thinking assistant will start. Now, in terms of the market, we are targeting businesses that have intensive client-related communications, or in fact, intensive internal communications between team members. Travel, hospitality, e-commerce, retail, banking, those are the industries that we were going to be primarily targeting.
1 minute.
The estimate market size, we've calculated it. We tried really hard to use bottom up, but we've used some research, and this is our estimate. We are competing essentially with templates and chatbots. I will be happy to expand on that in Q&A session. We're going to keep the free subscription for the individuals to get the media coverage and PR, but for businesses, it's obviously going to be industry-specific scenario sets which they can purchase. It could be either generic or purpose-built. And the team is quite experienced. We've been working together for 4 years, developing language travel marketplace, international one. So we know each other pretty well, and we're also supported by King's College London AI research group, who is advising us on scientific kind of approach to natural language processing and machine learning. So currently raising pre-seeds to complete AI-enabled beta. Thank you very much for your attention.
Max, thank you very much, Max. That was fantastic. Quite an impressive pair of co-founders there between you and the tech space as well. So I think I'm going to try and pass over first, if I can, to Joe and let you go with the first question.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks for that, Maxine. Yeah, I wrote down a few questions here. I suppose that, I mean, one that would be very interesting is, how do you prove ROI for your clients? So this is the first thing when you talk to, a company and you're trying to sell the product in, they're going to say, how can I effectively measure the impact that you're having on my sales team, my customer support team? And so, yeah, I'm wondering how you will track that.
Joe, that's my absolute favorite question. Thank you very much. So first of all, we will stick a little snippet, which basically, when the communication is received, the recipient could rate it. So whether it was kind of efficient or not. We understand that it's not always going to work, especially when there is some privacy to the communication. So the second approach that we're considering is essentially everyone would be able to save their communications in their personal account, and then they can reuse them later. So what we use is we calculate the amount of time that was spent on creating this initial first kind of communication, and then we can see how many times it was used, simply by multiplying the time by the number of usages. We can see how much time was saved, and obviously we would need to look a bit closer into how the customer feedback changed after the implementation. So we're really looking at taking the cutoffs before trial and taking the cutoffs after the trial. So we're going to see, amount of like negative reviews or positive reviews, things like that. So this is how we can really kind of measure the effect that we're making on the business.
Thanks for that. If I could just make a quick suggestion, I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but for a company that's pitching a product that is essentially in the effective communication space, I think I saw about 6 or 7 grammatical or typos in your deck. So I'm sure you've just put this together, but once you start sending it out to angels and VCs, I'd suggest that you have maybe a copywriter review it, because that's a real pet peeve of mine.
We'll have a Grammarly for this. Apologies for that.
Thank you, Joe. I think, Max, you might find that that's not going to be the only person to give you that comment tonight as well, from what I heard from some of the investors before. So I'm going to go over next to Andrew.
Yes, indeed. Thanks, Max. I think it's a really interesting area, this, and I had a look at something a while ago in this similar space, but not as well executed. I would definitely highlight Joe's earlier comment. It's a bit of a no-brainer if you're pitching for a communication company. It's absolutely vital that there are a lot of little typos, but obviously, English is a second language, so it's understandable. But grammatically, yeah. I would say can you just tell the valuation again? What was the valuation? What are you raising and at what valuation?
I mean, we are looking at the standard terms, like the absolute standard terms of 1 million pre-money, and currently raising 150,000.
Okay. And what's invested capital so far?
We're investing like personal funds for that, but the project is, I think, at a quite early stage. So I think we're invested a total of around $8,000 just for the technical side of things, and then we're not hiring anyone, so it's just us working on that right now.
And what are you going to be spending that 150 on?
So obviously we need to have a AI side fixed. So there's going to be some expenditure on data sets that we would be training up the algorithms with. So we would also seek some external expertise. As I said, King's College London is kindly advising us right now, but we would be expanding the team with in-house kind of talent to have a real kind of deep expertise in that. And then obviously running as much pilots with corporates. So we would have to produce some marketing materials to go out there in the market and try to get the real customers to use it. So some marketing budgets for the delivery of that.
What just very briefly, what would be your initial target market in terms of?
At this present time, in these current circumstances, we think we can benefit hospitality, travel, and aviation at the kind of absolute maximum effect. Obviously, like retail and e-commerce is something that we really need to look into as well. But I would say travel and hospitality is the first one. Obviously, there's a question whether they can pay for this right now, but the amount of the effect that we can bring, we have to evaluate that. So there's going to be a lot of customer development interviews, I think, prior to actually spending efforts on any particular niche.
I would look for different sectors because they're going to be very damaged and very cash constrained, those two sectors.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Yeah, retail and e-commerce, then the following, like immediately after.
Thanks. You very much, Andrew. Thank you. Okay, David?
Well, hi, Maxim. I was interested in your example because I saw about 6 months ago, somebody who was selling a product that was using AI to read job applications and make the decisions. So I'm quite interested in the idea of an AI-driven letter to an AI-driven reader, but maybe that's the day. My question is about route to market. Price of this is fairly cheap. You've got to sell a lot of them. What's the strategy to actually get people to pay you money? Otherwise, you can have a nice product that nobody's buying. You've got to make an awful lot of sales here to cover your costs and to justify a valuation, as far as I can see.
Thank you very much for your question, David. So, as I mentioned, there is a set of generic scenarios. So those scenarios are kind of predefined by us. But as I also mentioned, there is we can also develop like a tailor-made scenario. So for the big corporates, they obviously have like this little niche kind of scenarios and cases, real life cases, where they need specific approach. So we can obviously charge much higher fees for developing the custom scenario sets. But also this fee that was mentioned in my slide, this is per user per month. So I guess with having several thousands of corporates on board would allow us to generate quite substantial amount of revenue even with the generic scenario sets.
Okay, I mean, I understand the product. My question was more about what are you going to do to get thousands of corporates across the line? Because clearly, this looks like it looks to me that something like people are not going to particularly buy off the page or online, and it's actually going to take human interaction to sell the product. And so that's if you think you're going to get thousands of corporates, you need a pretty good strategy to bring those on fairly quickly.
Thanks very much for that. So our strategy is for having free scenarios for individuals. So again, if you want to write a cover letter or CD, or you want to post a product that you want to sell on the marketplace, or say you want to write a little like description for your website and things like that. So we will have quite a few scenarios, even some funny ones, for example, proposing to your partner or breaking up with your partner. So we're hoping to get a lot of media coverage and PR on having these free scenarios, which people can use for their own purposes, posting on social media, writing blog articles, and so things like that. So we're trying to get a viral effect with this, and then going through these people who actually work in some other companies and try to enter those businesses through those people who are kind of daily users for individual scenarios.
Sorry, I'll say thanks after I've unmuted, but thanks.
Thank you very much.
Super, and that leaves yourself, Saloni.
All right, so thank you so much for the presentation. I sort of echo the sentiments of the others in terms of the grammatical errors and such. But that aside, I wanted to understand a little bit more about why you chose those customer segments, and then do you have any market validation for it in terms of the pricing model, and what is your go-to-market strategy? Because based on your previous answers to the last question, it's sort of like a B2C to B2B approach, but I'm wondering, because I feel like this would warrant quite a hefty B2B sales team to sort of drive this forward and win that budget in the people that you're selling into and the companies that you're selling into.
Thanks, Saloni, for this question. So the first part was, sorry, so let's start with the question about the B2B to B2C. Yes, we are trying to achieve the kind of the viral effect with the B2C segment, just to get the name, the brand name, and the service name out into the masses, so people know about what we do. And we are looking for obviously to integrate some solutions to say, hey, you're using this for free to compose your personal texts, but this could also be applied for the job you're doing. For example, we store the data sets, and we've seen that the person has applied to some, for example, IT related job, and we're trying to say, here's the tools to try for communications. For example, a manager having to clearly state what are the objectives of the project, and to assign people responsibilities, so to know whose role is to do what. So even these templates, they're kind of one step towards the paid account for the corporates. And then the first part of the question, sorry, I just tried to...
Sorry, it was about market validation for the pricing and for the go-to-market sectors that you've chosen.
Yeah, thank you very much. So the reason why we started with the ones I've mentioned is because they are quite, they have intensive client communication. So for example, for retail and e-commerce, this is refunds, returns, cancellations, late deliveries, negative reviews. So there is a lot of content to work with, and we see that we can generate a lot of value. So that's why those specific niches were chosen. We haven't had commercial traction first thing we did was the scenario for creating COVID-19 related kind of announcements. So if the company needs to announce, you know, some disruption to its activities, CEOs, founders, HRs, they could have used this scenarios. It's still freely available on our website to kind of generate this announcements. From that, we got the really positive feedback. I think it's 17 or 19 CEOs or founders who gave us like extremely positive feedback. It was like an eye opener for them to put a recipient perspective in the center point of like communication production. So this is the only traction we have at this moment. The project is literally like 1.5 months old. So we haven't had commercial traction yet because we're still kind of trying to find the first kind of customers who would pilot this with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Max. Max, if I could ask you to stop sharing your screen just so the next presenter could come up. So next up, we're going to have Handset Expert. So I believe we have Sharum in the room. Sharum, are you here? I can see you, Sharum. I'm just sending you the request to open your video. Arno, while we're waiting for Sharum, who's just coming in now, I believe, I saw him taking his video, I'm going to ask Arno to share a link to our Slack group. We have a Slack group. There is a channel there called #pitch4investment. You'll find there's quite a few people in there already. I encourage you guys, if you want to ask any questions to any of the guys presenting this evening, then please do head in there. You can chat with each other about what you think of each of the presentations. And exactly as I said, you'll find the founders in there, as well as quite an active community of other freelancers and entrepreneurs around London.
Can you see it?
We can. That's fantastic. Thank you, Balint. Over to you.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So hello everyone. I'm Balint, the co-founder of Prepaired, an e-learning platform for students by students. So almost every student experiences the problem during studying of being just a few questions away of understanding a concept or feeling prepared. In that case, they have three solutions. They can either search online, but it can be very time consuming as it is not personalized. So it is hard to find the exact answer to their exact question. Secondly, they can always hire a private tutor, but that's expensive. And last but not least, they can ask a classmate or a professor, but it can be hard to find the right person or the time when it's good for the professor. So at Prepaired, we believe that every student is good at something, but also struggle with something as well. So we match these students together, and they can have free one-on-one video sessions with each other through our platform to understand anything that they might struggle with. In this case, we solve all the problems mentioned before. It's personalized, free, and there are plenty of talent available on our platform. As I said before, Prepaired is perfect when you just have a few questions, but there are great materials out there, learning materials, when you want to learn something from scratch. So basically, our business model is that we plan to distribute these materials through our platform and take a 20% commission. Our second revenue model is basically a small highlighting fee. So for a £1 fee, the students are able to highlight their public study requests, so they find answers easier. So the global packaged e-learning content market, which we plan to resell, is around $40 billion. And in first, we launch in the UK, where is it $1 billion. And we plan to solve around $1,000 worth of it in the first year. And after 1.5 years, we plan to expand into the US and India as well. So currently we are seeking £200,000 as our first funding round to launch Prepaired. The majority of it goes for development and a small fraction for sales and marketing. The team we have prepared is currently a team of 3. Myself, I studied mathematics and specialized in data science and machine learning for my undergraduate. And currently I'm finishing my master's degree at Imperial College studying innovation management. We have been working on learning solutions in the last 4 years with our Macron, who has a degree in finance and accounting, and our technical founder is András Geisel, who is currently developing the product and has a degree in computer science. So to wrap it up, why us and why now? As I mentioned before, we have been working on learning solutions in the last 4 years. We have created a high school final exam preparation application in Hungary, which was used more than 15,000 students in our country. Also, we have launched a pre-launch Facebook group, which gained more than 300 users in 2 weeks, and we facilitated around 15 study requests. And most importantly, our beta version is already out there, and currently it is tested by around 30 students. And that last but not least, sadly, in the current situation, there is an increased need for this solution, as when universities moved online, they didn't have the resources and the time to facilitate the very important interactions with the students. So they are now feel isolated, and Prepaired could be one way to help them to reconnect and even study together. So thank you very much. I was very afraid that I'm gonna run out of time, but just the opposite has happened. So I look forward to your questions, because I guess I might have forgot something. That's why I'm finished so early. So yeah.
Super, thank you very much, Balint. So David, I'm gonna start with you this time, please.
Congratulations on finishing early. I bet you're the only one. So well done. I've got lots of questions. I'm only allowed one. I suppose the one I'd like to focus on is, what do you think are the risks to the business? You've got quite a high valuation for where you are at the moment. You've got all sorts of, I mean, I can think of potential risks, such as universities doing their own, or whatever it might, their own systems. So what do you think are the main risks that could stop you being successful?
Yeah. So I think the main risks are currently at the start is the chicken and egg program. So our ability to grow is capped by willingness of the students to teach. So we have to be very careful to balance those two sides out. For that reason, we first want to focus on one specific discipline, so it would be easier. Yeah, and secondly, although we already have some packaged e-learning providers who approved for the 20% commission, there could be a risk there to convince enough providers to come on board, and more importantly, to being able to transition our users from the few questions to actually buy more extensive materials.
Thanks.
Brilliant. I'm going to go back down the line this time. So Joe, to you next.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Balint. So just fundamentally, I may have misunderstood what the product actually provides, but you started out essentially by saying online courses are a problem and that they're not personalized. So basically what you're saying is they don't meet the needs of the market. And then you say that users can provide tailored teaching, and the reward for that is they get discounts to online courses which are not personalized. So it's almost like the value proposition to your client, to your users, is, you know, a product which you are saying does not meet the needs of the market, and is, you know, yeah, I mean, I suppose that's my point. I just can't, I can't kind of square that circle, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Perfect. I might. Yeah. So the thing is, there are two fundamentally different things. So we were talking about the scenario when you just have a few questions, so you don't understand the specific concept. So, for example, regression analysis, and you just don't know what the B stands for. And in that scenario, if you want to look online, it can be hard to find the exact question. Exact answer for that question, because there are going to be a bunch of materials starting from probability. There are going to be all other materials which are much more advanced, and it's just hard to find the exact answer. And that's why in that scenario, coming on prepared, finding some connecting with somebody and explaining it face to face with a video call is a real help. But on the other hand, if you are already using Prepaired and you want to learn something from scratch, or you're just very interested to study programming, then you are able to purchase these contents on our site as well. And even even if you have teached enough other students, you can even get discounts on this in these contents. That's how we can also encourage you to buy it on our site and not somewhere else.
Okay, great. Well, yeah. So if I could just make a quick follow-up comment, if your whole business model relies on sort of prepackaged online content, I wouldn't necessarily start a pitch, either a sales pitch to users or to investors, by saying that online courses are not fit for purpose. It's just it's a messaging thing, and I wouldn't claim that they are your direct competitors if they're going to be your revenue partners or your platform partners. I would more say that we are a supplemental product to the existing larger market of online sort of prepackaged.
Yeah, that's perfectly true. And the correct phrasing is actually searching online. I might have said differently, but yeah, you are perfectly right. And actually, that's how we imagine ourselves, like a supplement.
Super, thank you. So I'm then going to go to Saloni next, because you're next in the line for me.
Sure. So thank you for the presentation. I just was curious as to what's your go-to-market strategy? Is it to sell into schools, or is it direct to consumer? What's the approach there?
Very good question. So our go-to-market strategy is a mix of the two. So of course we will try to make partnerships with the university and other non-profit educational focused organizations, but it wouldn't be about selling our software or licensing it out to them. It would be about reaching their users with them together. And the second one would be, of course, some paid advertisement to really be able to measure our funnels and fine tune our messaging to our customers. And of course, we plan to try a lot of other channels which are very cheap or organic, like guerrilla channels. But yeah.
So I just had a really quick follow-up question. So with the approaching schools directly, wouldn't students in the same university or the same school anyways collaborate a little bit and help each other out? At least that's something, from my experience, that was always the case. And so I'm curious as to what value add this brings to something that is fairly easy to do within like a class environment.
That's completely true, and actually that's how we really realize that how important it is to students and how good how able are them to actually teach each other. Our added value is that we are essentially at every university, so are able to seek help from students at other universities and eventually even in other countries, which will help you to get help faster and it more easier to find the right person. Because sometimes in classes, it either, if for example, if might be everybody some very very swamped in the exam period, so they might don't really have time for you when you have questions. But with different universities, these exam periods are different, so you can actually find some other students who are currently don't have their exams coming up the next day, and are happy to explain it for you. And basically that would be the selling to other universities, that it is a great way for them to connect their students into a much broader university community, which is cross-university community.
Thank you.
Super, and that leaves Andrew.
Hello, this is I mean, great sector, this huge amount of competition. What subjects are you going to be focusing on, and what do you think your price point is?
Yeah. So basically, first we are focusing on engineering undergraduate subject, which includes programming, and one of the reason is that it is one of the highest number of international students compared to others, and they experience the problem on a higher degree, because if you just move to another country, it might be a little bit more harder to ask around of your social network for help. So that's why first we are focusing on engineering and programming students with the price point. So the price point is basically not determined by us. It's more it's determined by the content providers. So for example, Udemy or Udacity courses, and they are between a range of 30 to 500. So we usually calculate with an average of like 100 per course.
Okay, thank you.
Super, thank you so much. So Balint, I'm just going to ask you now if you could just stop sharing the screen, and we'll start handing back over again to Handset Expert and to Sharon, who I've seen back in the room. If everyone needs to just take a 2-minute break while we set up as well. So if anyone needs to grab a glass of water or run to the bathroom or anything like this, please do so. As Sharon, as you set up, I'm just going to put a poll into the room as well, so everyone can let us know what they think their favorite one is so far. You can vote for yourself. And Sharon, are you ready to set yourself up, and we'll start getting you prepared while we grab a break?
Yeah, I think I'm ready. Let's see if I can. Hi everyone, I think you can see me now, and I will share the screen in a second.
Cool, and we'll just grab a little break, so just give a couple of minutes before we restart again. It is an anonymous poll, everyone, so don't worry, your name won't be shown against your vote. So we've got about half the room have voted now. I'll wait for a few more to come through while we take the break. And it even gives me a little timer for the break. The joys of Zoom, I can see why several million downloads have happened. And yes, as We Coffee, we are reaching out for a discount code for you guys. I'll just remind everyone as well, there is the Slack group. So if you haven't found it yet, it's a good time to just drop into the chat. And it's #pitch4investment is the channel within the We Coffee Slack channel, where you can meet all of the other founders. You'll see some of the people from the previous event as well who've joined in this time. Come and say hello. Super, so we will end the poll. Right again there, everybody. So for the poll so far, this is where we have the results. So this is halfway through. And I'm gonna take the polling down off the screen. For those who weren't able to go on the poll, it's one of the things you find with Zoom. If you come through the desktop app, when you join any of our events, you'll be able to participate in the polls. For those who come through the browser or your phone, sadly, you might not be able to. So I'm going to now pass over to Handset Expert and Sharon, and your 5 minutes will start.
All right, thank you very much, Ben. And hi, everyone. I'm Sharon, and technology permitting, I'm here to talk about Handset Expert. The UK mobile market is complex. There are around 200 different models of mobile phone to choose from at any given point, and there are 4 million deals that change on a daily basis. Now, that much choice is often overwhelming. One wrong decision can lead to paying much more than you need to, or being stuck with a frustrating phone for the next 2 years. Handset Expert gives control back to customers. We provide all the information you need before buying a new phone, making finding a new phone quicker, easier, and cheaper. Our goal is essentially to do for buying a phone what TripAdvisor does for planning a holiday. So what does this mean? Like price comparison sites, we help find the best price. However, we compare far more deals and networks than our competitors do. This is because most price comparison sites use the same back-end providers for their comparison. We've built everything we do from scratch, which means that we are truly unique and much more comprehensive. It also means that we have much more control over the data, and this allows us to do interesting and useful things. For example, we can tell customers in real time whether they'd be better off buying a phone on contract or whether it would be better to buy the phone and the SIM plan separately, and precisely by how much, so consumers always get the best deal. Traditional comparison sites are also only useful right at the end of the customer journey when you already know what you want and you've reached the point where you're comparing prices. We help at every stage. We help consumers pick something that actually matches their needs, and then we help them to find the best price. So here are a few examples of the kind of things we do to help. We aggregate professional reviews, a bit like Rotten Tomatoes, but for phones instead of films. So no more endless searching on multiple websites and flicking between tabs. We also aggregate photos taken by people in their everyday life when they're actually using their phones, so you know exactly what to expect from the camera. We provide other helpful services like impartial buyer's guides and retailer guides, so we can be a true one-stop service with everything in one place. We've been featured in The Guardian, The Sun, and The Mirror, amongst other leading national papers. Money Saving Expert recommends us, and we have been accredited by Ofcom, one of only 3 mobile comparison sites that has this in the UK. We have partnerships with over 40 UK retailers. This includes all the big names in the phone space. All of this means we're perfectly positioned to become the UK's leading service for all things to do with phones and SIMs. We're in the middle of a fundraising round right now, and this is a very unusual time to be fundraising. Consumer behavior has changed dramatically by recent events, and for us, that has 2 implications. Firstly, in financially unstable times, consumers are more likely to look for ways to cut down on spending and seek better value for money. And the need for a service like Handset Expert is going to be especially important in these circumstances. Secondly, because we own every part of the underlying tech and backend, we have the ability to launch new services quickly. So, for example, we recently launched a new service to compare mobile broadband and data SIMs in response to the shifting market needs following the lockdown. Our vision is to provide a platform that can continue to innovate, cater to rapidly changing customer needs, and help consumers save money. So we hope you join us as we make buying phones and SIMs as easy as it should be. Thanks for listening.
Brilliant, thank you, Sharon. That's super. I'm just going to swap my view back, and let's start off with Andrew, please.
Hi, I think this is great and long overdue. I think it's a very complicated and opaque market, this whole space, and it's the choices are predicated by people being so brand centric in terms of their phone. By definition, they almost start out by having the wrong solution because they always want to either want a Samsung or they want an iPhone or whatever. Whereas anyone that sort of digs down, there are so many better phones at so much better price points. I mean, I'm a huge fan of OnePlus. I mean, that's just blows away, Apple or Samsung or whatever it is, and it's just such amazing value for money. But how do you get over the comparison sites and Car Phone Warehouse? I mean, they have got an amazing market presence. There's a lot of trust. Okay, Car Phone Warehouse goes in and out, but I mean, Charlie Dunstan has done an amazing job and has made a hell of a amount of money out of it, and it still seems to be every time I go past one, they seem to be fairly full on a Saturday morning.
So I'm going to answer that in reverse order. Car Phone Warehouse is not in the greatest shape right now. They just prior to the lockdown, they closed all of their standalone stores permanently. So what's happening now is that they're going to be integrated into the PC World and Curry superstores. So the way they're moving is changing. And part of that is because they had for too long made the mistake of assuming that everyone will stick to 2-year contracts on phones. And the market is moving away from that. For some people, that is perfectly suitable, but a lot of people are now just switching their SIM, or they're buying a SIM-free handset. In some cases, they're going towards the refurbished market, which is another growth market. There's still a very important role for someone like Car Phone Warehouse to play, but they are having to change and adapt. To the first part of your question about comparison sites, the biggest problem that they have a couple of opportunities that they've left for us, essentially. One is that they only help at the last stage of the purchasing journey, whereas we help all the way through. So the purchasing path when you visit a price comparison site is, I know I definitely want to get this phone, and then you look through prices. With the wealth of information we provide, we have the opportunity to engage with customers much earlier on in the purchasing process. Roughly speaking, 25% of all people know what they want to buy but prior to purchase, which leaves 75% still uncertain when they want to buy something. And the research time that we found based on customer interviews and market research is around 2 weeks. So there's a 2-week period where they're trying to find more information about what to get and where to get it from. The where to get it from comes into play if you find somewhere in particular that's a little cheaper. The other thing about price comparison sites is that overwhelmingly they use the same backend for the data. So for example, if you go to compare the market after this event and do a comparison, say for iPhone 11, and then go to confused.com, you will see, and do the same search, you will see exactly the same results, almost exactly the same layout. They all use the same backend. And that there are two useful advantages for us. One is it means that they're not spending time and effort in developing that part of their platform. The second one is it opens an opportunity for us to do that service, to be a B2B2C platform for them. We've already built this very comprehensive comparison platform, and by creating an API for them to access, we could create mutually beneficial opportunities.
Thanks for that. Have you heard of Recyclerbox?
I'm not sure I have, no.
Have a look at it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. I'll go to David.
That's a mean trick, doing them in the wrong order for once, isn't it?
Sorry.
Thanks. It's interesting to hear. I mean, I've got to say, over the last couple of years, I've seen, I don't know, loads and loads of people saying they were going to be the most trusted customer comparison site. There's hundreds out there at the moment, and I really hope you're the one. And I think owning data and the process is a big plus. But it's a tough old market when people have got a huge amount of money to throw at advertising to make them the choice that people go to. I mean, you know, you look at the number of awful adverts we have to watch with the opera singer on TV, you can see the amount of advertising spend. So I'm assuming you know, obviously you know all that. So my questions are more about, what's the goal for the business? Do you see yourself as a long-term supplier to other people who want more sort of an independent independent comparison? Do you see that you're going to, you know, be licensing? Do you think someone's going to come along and buy you up? You know, from an investor perspective, where do you see the business going, and how do you see them making their exit and making their money?
Sure. Okay. Apologies, the sound cut off a little bit, but I think I caught the gist of your question. So hopefully I'll answer it reasonably. So when it comes to expansion and growth, we have, first of all, we want to expand our direct to consumer reach. We fully accept that there will be challenges, especially we will not have the budget to compare with CGI meerkats and operatic talisman. But what we need to aim to do is to do what they don't. And this is a big part of why we offer things that these comparison sites aren't offering and are unlikely to offer on their own volition anytime soon. When, in terms of expansion of verticals, we have the opportunity to do that because we've built the platform ourselves, and we are much less dependent on other components. So the data SIM and mobile broadband is a good example of that. That came together in about a week. And assuming a good product or service market fit, we could easily expand to other products and services as necessary. Finally, like I mentioned in the previous question, there is also the opportunity to collaborate with the bigger players and offer our comparison service as and so they use us as the back end. We know that one of the big five in comparison experimented with a different platform in the last 2 to 3 years, but it didn't really meet their needs because they were missing a few of the retailers, and they were non-UK, so they didn't quite have the level of information that UK customers care about. They had a different approach and it didn't quite connect. In terms of acquisition, the market is generally reasonably active in terms of comparison acquisition. The most notable one is the one more serious player out of the big five, Money Supermarket in the mobile space. They acquired a company called Decision Tech in I think about 18 months ago, and that is the underlying platform that now provides data for mobiles to Confused.com and Compare the Market. So I don't know how keen those latter companies are on giving their revenue to a competitor, but I can't imagine that they love it. Does that answer everything?
In a way, I think I was more interested in whether whether you saw this as a business that was going to get swallowed up because you'd be a noisy irritant, or you'd be cheaper than somebody developing their own or what they were doing, or whether you actually saw this as something that you'd grow and try and sell the underlying tech to lots of different people. But it's sort of answered, but maybe let's pass on to someone else, and maybe you can wrap that up in your next answer.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Thank you, David. I'll go to Saloni.
Hi, so thank you for that. I had similar questions to the others in terms of how this compares to other comparison sites. And I will admit, I barely ever use these things to buy product. So I may come across a little misinformed, but I'm curious to understand, besides that competition, how do you sort of counteract the network effects of certain companies like Apple for example, or Samsung, where people have and choose the phones more because of the fact that all of their friends have those phones and their family and whatever, and that provides certain capabilities and functionalities rather than the phone's actual capability?
The short answer is we lean into it as much. This kind of comes into the go-to-market strategy a little bit, but one of the key customer segments we look at are people who want to buy iPhones because of the various ecosystem and other issues that you mentioned, but don't necessarily want to spend £1,500 on the iPhone 11 Pro Max. And Apple are catering to that right now a little bit with the new iPhone SE that's due to come out tomorrow. But essentially, the range of pricing for iPhones goes from £419 first hand to £1,499. So even if you're a diehard hardcore Apple fan, there's a huge range of pricing and capability options to consider. And on top of that, some people will be interested in buying that phone standalone. Some people will be interested in buying that as part of a multi-year contract. So we can assist and generate revenue by aiding them in those sub-decisions. So even if you know you're going to buy an iPhone, there's a role for us to play.
Okay, thank you.
And lastly, yourself, Joe.
Thanks, Ben. Hi, Sharon. Thanks for that. Yeah, so I was looking at the deck earlier, and I was looking at the financial projections, and I noticed that between year 1 and 2, there was quite a substantial jump in revenue, without a meaningful jump in your operating expenses. So I'm just wondering, what are the drivers of that revenue jump? Yeah, it's we don't normally see that. Obviously, you don't want expenses and revenue to kind of increase. They don't want them to be correlated forever, but it does seem to be quite a sharp divergence. So yeah, I was just wondering what are the drivers of that sort of large increase in revenue?
Sure. Well, the short answer is it's a combination of smaller compounded things that you eventually see in year 2. It is easier to see the incremental changes on a monthly basis, but that doesn't look so good on an investor deck, A4 size kind of presentation. But essentially, so I'll give an example. One of the things that we would expect to happen, which is an improvement in conversion rate. So what we would expect to see is even a very small difference in conversion rate can have a reasonably big effect. We've tried to be sensible and not go crazy about what we can reasonably expect in that respect. So we've been relatively conservative on that, but it's the culmination of various different factors. The other thing, for example, is traffic. So a reasonable part of what we would get for investment would be spent on marketing and advertising. And we can expect a range of growth, traffic-based growth based on that. And all of these separate things together, we hope and expect to provide a reasonable increase. It's also important to remember that in the first year post-revenue, we would expect a few what are essentially sunk costs, one-off costs to set various things up. And it takes time for things like, say, an SEO strategy to kick in. So we might do something now, but the effects will only be felt, say, 6 to 12 months down the line. So we can't incorporate that in its entirety we can't assume that we generate lots of revenue in the first year because of that, because there's a lag effect. But after a while, we know that those things will, if we do it correctly and well, they'll kick in.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. I'm going to ask now, Shom, if you could just take your screen share down.
Sure thing.
That's okay. And we'll be handing over next to Theo. Theo, are you here to bring your camera on and unmute yourself? Brilliant. Hey, Theo. So Theo's here from Strykin. Are you okay to share your screen up?
I am. Let me just pop this one on. Entire screen. Share. Lovely. Cool. Can you see it?
From the start of the presentation.
Hello?
Yeah, we can see your
Can
screen.
you see it? Can you see us?
We can see your screen.
Brilliant. Excellent. And can you see us?
We cannot see you.
Okay,
Oh,
wonderful.
Yeah,
there we
I
are.
can see us.
Brilliant.
Nice.
It's a little bit of a demo as well on the camera. So that's a bit of fun. Okay, so first off, I'd really like to say thank you much for putting this on. It's great, especially down to see what other people are doing, and to kind of still maintain and be part of the ecosystem. Okay, lovely. So who are we? So my name is Theo. I'm the CTO of Strykin Live. I'm a web developer with an e-commerce and startup background.
My name is Rayma. I am a psychiatrist by background, and I'm the CEO of Strykin Live. So I do the client relationships, and I do a lot of the branding and concept decisions. So COVID-related lockdown and social distancing measures have accelerated the need for businesses to find effective ways to stand out in the digital space and reach their market. Strykin is a live streaming platform that helps brands capitalize on the full potential of live stream video by combining sales and content. With authenticity and interactivity at its core, it keeps consumers engaged and can help connect businesses that have closed premises to the members of the public that are in social isolation. So our streams are live stream-based experiences, and they run on the basis of real-time, run on an event basis with real-time sales on site. Content is at the center of our model. So this makes us more appealing to the growing Generation Z market. Currently, we are the closest digital experience to a real-life interaction. Strykin Live offers an advanced e-commerce platform that is particularly relevant at this time and can help many businesses that are maybe at risk of critically losing footfall.
Lovely. So we built this, but rather than just showing you a picture, I think it would be cool to show like a real life demo. So this is one stream that we ran the other day. So we had someone doing jewelry. As you can see, it works just for mobile as well. So it's nice vertical. It's easy to buy. You can just click the short form and that's how you purchase this. We also have, as the person's screen, we've got this little application with all their products on, so they can just click any of their products and it will come up in real time. And we put this together. So we did this a few times, and we wanted it with an artist, and she did a dragon print. She does all these different art places. She ran it for 3 hours. She made £220. That was after fees and printing costs, and she was able to ship those that art out to America, the Netherlands, and she hit like a real kind of global audience. And she did it without spending anything. We also stream both to Facebook and YouTube at the same time, so it helps widen that audience. So we want to take a 15% plus 20 pence commission on each of the sales made on the platform.
So our go-to-market plan is aimed towards collaborating with small brands and designers that we're approaching via social media platforms. We plan on becoming a hub for these brands and designers and connect them to an engaged community that love their live streams, love their products and creativity, and keep coming back for more.
So live streaming is massive at the moment. Facebook find that people watch live stream videos 3 times longer than regular videos. And on the Chinese Black Friday, Singles Day, Taobao Live put on 70,000 live streams in one day. And each one of those live streams made an average of 31K in a day.
So this is an overview of where we fit in the market. So Comment Sold and Bambuser are plugins. Bambuser is a live stream plugin for your website, while Comment Sold works with your FB Live. Amazon, QVC, and TalkShop Live are more traditional telemarketing type sales. Duple works with younger influencers and gives them virtual wins. So Strykin fits in nicely for younger demographic, is community orientated, and also helps monetization. So we have a responsibility to our community's mental health at a time where social media comes under massive flack for affecting people's mental health. So when you're part of the stream, be there, interact, chat with everyone, but when it's done, it's done. No likes, no infinite scroll. So we enhance real social connections and expression without encouraging an unrealistic worldview.
So we want £100,000, and that let us get better media surface, so we can have better quality streams with lower latency. We want to make an even better UI, UX to what we already have. We want to streamer-friendly stock management system and stats dashboard, so people can come on, they can run streams without having us to help them so much. And we want to run a big marketing campaign to get both clients and also customers on board. Thank you very much for giving us your time, and we'd be really happy to take any questions you might have.
Thank you. Hello.
Hey guys, I'm just going to let you know before I pass you over to the judges, there's a little bit of feedback coming through on your mics, and we're hearing our echo back. Now, I let you go without stopping you because we could hear you with a very minimal crackle, but when we talk to you now, I'm hearing an echo. So I'm just going to give you a second to change your mic while we go to the first person to ask.
Okay, I'll just turn that off.
What is happening?
Perfect. So if you can mute yourself sort of between the questions, that would be really helpful, because when they ask, it'll just put a big echo back in. Okay, guys. So let's start. Joe, please.
Thanks for that presentation, guys. Yeah, I mean, just in terms of the technology or the platform that you're building, obviously building a live streaming platform is extremely difficult. Plus, you're building almost like an e-commerce function on top of it, that's layered on top of it. So building such a platform that's, you know, functional but also highly scalable is going to be, you know, present sort of significant computer science challenges, right? So it's not an easy thing to do. So I'm wondering, you know, which one of you has the technical expertise to build that, or who else on your team, or are you outsourcing that? Because that is what makes me the most nervous as an investor. But if you can nail that, otherwise I think it's a great product and a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely. So that would be me. I've worked at startups. I've got an e-commerce background. Generally, I've worked with kind of existing kind of e-commerce platforms such as like Magento, and yeah, kind of developing this has kind of had its own own struggles and different tricky things I've had to develop to work with live streaming. There's a huge amount of new software protocols for live streaming. So WebRTC, which is really low latency and really high quality, and a lot of the streaming platforms are only just starting to use that. Like Facebook doesn't use it, YouTube doesn't use it. It's a little bit pricier, but because our streams are subsidized by people paying, we can do some really high quality streams. So the answer is that I'm the developer, and we're looking to get like a front end developer as well, but I'm the key architect behind the system as it is at the moment.
And if I could just ask a quick follow-up. So basically you're using off-the-shelf sort of open source protocols, meaning that you'll have no technical defensibility. So where does your defensibility come from, right? So how does YouTube not come along and if you prove that this works and just recreate it and kind of wipe you guys off the map?
That's a really good question. Actually, with a lot of tech products in the UK, it's very difficult to protect your intellectual property. So we can protect sort of UI mechanisms and sort of the buy mechanisms and the checkout processes. But in terms of sort of those technical things, we'd have to kind of keep them secret. So we've got some things to do with like our sockets and real-time updates, sort of the connection, the pairing with a mobile phone app to the screen. So that kind of thing, that's very much custom and in-house. But really, to be defensible, what we need to do is to really create that hub. So we want like a real quality place where we've got sellers who are coming that you may have like sort of relationships with. You can follow them on Instagram, you can follow them on Facebook, and you want to come and see what they're doing and when they're doing it. That, we believe, it will be the key to keeping us alive and independent from other larger companies.
Yeah, I think our real key is to basically cut out all the noise, because yes, Facebook can step in, or YouTube can step in and try and recreate something and put in plugins to what they've got. But as Theo mentioned, what we're trying to build is that hub and cut out all the other everything else. So the community is coming there to see these live streams from these creators.
Brilliant. Thank you, guys. So I will go over next to Saloni.
Cool. Thank you, guys. So my question was around defensibility as well, but I'm Now, curious to understand, obviously speed to market is key to sort of any type of success. And so I wanted to understand a little bit more about the traction you've gained so far in terms of building out that community to acquire that, to sort of get yourself into that ecosystem and grow from there.
So we've been going for around 5 months now. We've had like 5 different streams with different businesses. Since the crisis that we're currently having, we've had a huge amount more interest with other people being like, you know, we've closed our shop, you know, how can we go forward? And we've got like an onboarding pack and we're meeting with people. And so we're growing that and we're figuring out how best and how quick to get people on.
Yeah, we have, like Thea said, we have been only going for 5 months. We basically built this from nothing to what we are now in 5 months. So obviously the traction's also going along in that timeline. Right now, as I said, it's much easier, but we have figured out the things that we do have to do in the next few months to bring people on. One of the key things we've learned is, as much as live stream is amazing and people have figured out that's what we need to do now, a lot of people are quite afraid to go out and do it. So we are looking to like help people more with advice and things like that when we bring them on, to make it less fearful for them to go on, really.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Andrew?
Hi, I think it's amazing what you've done in 5 months. I congratulate you because I know how difficult this is. I would ask you, what are you focusing on particular product sectors that you're enticing onto your platform? And secondly, in terms of payments and everything else, who are you partnering with in terms of the transaction?
Really good questions. So we're partnering with Stripe, which is that 20 pence. So we cover the payment fees as well. And in terms of the businesses that we're looking to get, we would love to say, oh, we're going to do all types of products, but really we're kind of focusing on like a beachhead of health and beauty and art. So we're thinking people who are doing jewelry and people who are also doing like sort of like fashionable items. So it's kind of art and health and beauty, very visual things that where people kind of, they have a story and things that are a little bit boutique. So we realized that a lot of businesses are using e-commerce, which has like, you know, 30, 40 products for people to scroll down. And yet our platform allows people to sort of communicate their passion through video and through chat. And that's really where our strength is and where those markets really shine.
I think one of the main markets we actually found by trying and speaking to people onboarding was sustainable fashion market, because we've got a lot of small designers in a market that's booming at the moment come COVID, is these like small businesses that are making stuff. And they've got these amazing stories that they can't really seem to communicate by just having a web shop. And a lot of them found the interest in this. But obviously the next step for us is to bring all these people together. So we have a big client base and big traffic coming through to see all of them at the same place. So that's where we'll be going next. Thank you.
What's your average price point?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Yeah. So our average basket size is around £39. And so over a stream, someone will spend £39, who people have purchased. The average price though is around 20 mark. So we find people often will buy one thing, and then we also offer free shipping on subsequent orders over £3. And so then often they'll just sort of get something else afterwards to top that up. So it's around £20 is the average item, but then 39 will be over the course of a stream, how many people pay.
That's based on the ones that we run and the people manage to contact. Actually, if you look through Facebook live streams, like for example, yesterday I found someone that's live streams selling auto modified parts, and each piece was over $1,000 and people were buying. So it's about having people that have that customer base us into them. So it's, yeah, I think it's early for us to say what our average price is, because there's all this out there. We just need to bring them to us, actually.
Thank you and good luck.
David, please.
Hi. That's really interesting. I mean, my take on it, and this is meant as a positive, not as a negative, is that you're you've got to the point of proving the concept in this. You know, you've been focused on getting it up and running, learning all the time, and now you probably need you need to sit back and need more than just money. You need money and help really to take it on to the next stage, because obviously it's quite a risk with just the two of you doing everything. And I suppose the questions that an investor would have would all be around, do you have a proper plan as to how to take this forward? Do you have a proper risk analysis of all the things that go wrong? Have you got it under control? What are you really looking for help? Because it sort of seems to me that if someone, you know, if all the people watching came along and said, we'll all give you a load of money, there's a sort of a, what the hell do we do with that moment coming? And I think you almost need to decide what's more important to you than money. Now, I don't know if you think I'm unfair about that, but so I suppose my questions are, you know, do you have a proper risk review? Do you have a proper plan in place? Do you have the kind of things that an investor was going to be looking for? Because they might like the idea, but they might worry it's just the two of you.
Yeah, we do have that plan actually, and we have over the last couple of weeks since COVID really hit, we have been looking at what kind of people we need and what the best way forward is, and we'd love to share it with you. But just on an overall simplified version, we need a few things. First of all, we need someone for the tech to help out deal with not only the front end but the back end and integrating, because when we get our new server, we need to integrate the new video server, and that's going to be a technical challenge as well that we need someone else on board to do. We need a proper marketing strategy. That's somewhere I think we need quite a bit of help, because neither of us have got a marketing background or any kind of that. So we need a campaign to get us out there and get these small businesses seeing us, and also our user base on saying there's this great platform that's doing creators and live streams and I want to go there and buy. So we need that. And the third thing we really need is we've actually got already in touch with the live stream business expert. So there is a lady called Jennifer Hamley that works with businesses and helps them live stream and sell. So we've already got in touch with her, and once we get funding, we want to basically get her on board and do a lot of our business strategy. Like, as I mentioned before, we have noticed that all the businesses want to do it. They are afraid of the prospect of going live because it's like nothing they've ever done before. And it's basically a brand new sales modality they're going to have to learn. So we've actually got our business expert lined up, and she's going to make all these videos for us, do workshops and things, and run it with these people to ensure that we've got streams that are quality. So yeah, that's a snippet of the kind of people we've want help with.
But yeah, catch us afterwards.
Yeah.
We're more than happy to talk about those things, and we didn't get where we are by not listening to other people's advice. So
I mean, that's a really good answer. I mean, I think clearly to make this big, you've got to have loads and loads of streams and sell loads and loads of products, and marketing is the big thing. I think you'll find a bit of free advice you can ignore completely is that if people are going to give you money now, they're going to want to be part of the process of understanding who you're bringing in as experts. And actually, you may want to bring somebody in who's both an expert and an investor, so they've got the same interests as you, because there is a bit of there's a bit of a reluctance I've seen for people to come along and say, yes, here's my money, off you go with it, you go and employ somebody else that's going to tell you what to do. Because if that's the case, they might as well give the money to the person that knows what to do. Anyway, I hope that's helpful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and that makes sense. And in fact, from our point of view, we would love to have an investor that has the know-how and the expertise to steer us in the right direction as well, rather than getting people ourselves. So thank you very much.
Cheers, thanks.
Cheers, guys. Thank you so much. Just so you know, in case you're doing any more of these over the season, the only thing is with your microphone is you'll hear it, and I'll send you back the recording. It's just the occasional little click that comes in when you're speaking, especially very fast. So I think you probably have quite a sensitive mic in front of you somewhere. But great pitch, guys. Thank you so much. And the last pitch for this evening will be Duple. So do we have Duple in the room? And could you bring your camera on, please, Louis? Brilliant. Thank you, Louis.
Yes. Hi, Ben. Thank you. Let me share my screen.
I'll give you the thumbs up when we've got it, Louis, and let you know so you don't.
So yeah, I had some privacy settings on, so that's why. Sorry about that. Can you see it?
Yeah, we have your screen.
Perfect. Cool. Perfect. Yep. So hi everyone. I'm Louis, co-founder of Duple. So at Duple, we believe that privacy is a fundamental right that everyone should have. Companies are more and more abusing of your privacy, whether you use Dropbox or Google Drive for your files. For example, whenever you upload a picture of your partner or your children on the cloud, this essentially means that you're accepting that this photo is being stored, handled, processed by someone else who may use it and access it. There's no privacy, there's no ownership of data. So we're here to change that. How? Duple is an app that gives you your own private cloud at home in one click. Just download the app on your devices, take any USB key, plug it to your internet router, and that's it. You've got your own private Dropbox at home. It works just like a Dropbox. So you use it to store your files, synchronize them between your devices, share your files with friends and family, access your files from anywhere. The difference is, and what we're adding, is the privacy element. That means that your files are not stored on someone else's data center, but they're stored with you on your own private storage. So you have full ownership and full control over your data. So why are we doing this? Well, 3 reasons. First, as I mentioned, privacy. Your files are not stored on some vague external location that we call the cloud. The cloud with Duple is physically with you, so you can touch your data and you're in full control of it. 2, simplicity. That's a super important point because we want everyone to be able to use Duple. So take any USB key, plug it to your router, that's where your cloud is hosted, download the app on your devices, click create a new private cloud, and that's it. 3, flexibility. So because you use your own storage, that means that you have full control over the size of your cloud. Whether you want 10 gigabytes or 10 terabytes, you decide. Leading the projects are Greg and I. A little bit of our backgrounds. We're both French. Greg is a professional hacker. He used to work for governments on classified projects. He started to program when he was 8, so very high level expertise in IT security and privacy. I myself, I lead on the business side. I used to work for different tech companies and startup, leading the sales team. We met at a party in Madrid, actually. That's always a good way to meet your future business partner. How did we come to this? Well, actually, it was born out of a personal need. Greg was a Dropbox user. He loved the product, awesome features, simplicity of use, but he got fed up with it because there's a major problem. There's no privacy. He wants to own his data. So he started to look for private alternatives, which do exist, but there's a major problem as well. They're a pain in the ass. They require long installation, long configuration, server, expensive hardware. There's nothing that's simple where you just click and it works. So he started to develop the solution he wanted for himself. And as we noticed a lot of people wanted it, we decided to commercialize it. So where are we now? So we are right now in beta. We've been for a few months. We've got active beta users. We already have over 5,000 downloads and even paying customers. So it's always exciting at this stage. We're using the app ourselves internally. Most of the functionalities are implemented and we're ready to launch in 2 months. Business model is super straightforward, monthly subscription for both B2C and later on when we'll go B2B. The great thing is that we have no cost per customer. So that means we can fix any price we want. We're super scalable. Because everything is client-side, whether we have 10 users or 10 million users changes very little on company infrastructure. Just to give you an idea on how big the market is, the private cloud market alone represents over $69 billion. That is just the private cloud market. So we recently decided to look for a round of investment. So we're right now looking for a 200K that will mainly go into hiring and marketing budget. So yeah, that's it. Thank you very much. You can download the beta app actually on our website. And so feel free to play with it. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Louis.
Thank you.
So I'm going to go over to the panel and I will start with Andrew, please.
I think it's brilliant. Thanks, Louis. Just what we need. Actually, I'm going to go on immediately after this and sign up. I'm definitely. I was going to ask, what valuation? Are you looking at 200K at what valuation?
1.5.
Okay. And you guys are exclusive on this, are you?
Is your question whether we're the only ones doing that?
Yeah.
Yes.
No. This is the only thing you guys are working on at the moment.
Oh yes, of course, both full time. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. And do you have any other shareholders at the moment?
No, we put our money so far.
Okay. Which is what's cash invested so far?
150K.
Okay. Wow. And that's sterling, yeah.
Euros.
Okay. Thanks. I'll connect later.
Cool. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Andrew. So I'll go over to Joe next, please.
Hey, Louis, thanks for that. Yeah, I suppose, when we look at markets or products, what's important to me as an investor is that you're solving a real pain point in the market. And I just think about all the people, the private users of Dropbox that I know. So I know some hackers, and yes, they're very concerned about privacy, but I also know people like my mom who just stores photos of, her grandkids on there, and she really couldn't care if Dropbox can access those photos and what they do with it. So, what percentage of your market actually cares about the problem that you're solving? Yeah, and to what extent does that limit your ability to build a meaningful company?
I think it's a great question, because I believe the problem you're referring to, I believe, is mainly because people are not willing to give up convenience. And for a lot of private solutions, unfortunately, it means giving up this simplicity. That's why we are very much focused on the simple product. And when I mentioned that it was born out of personal need, that's why, because we can't handle products where it takes configuration and all this. To give you an idea of numbers, so that we're a bit more concrete about it. So the private cloud market is huge. If you just take B2C, all these typical users who go away from the likes of Google or WhatsApp, and they use, let's give an example, instead of going to Gmail, they go to ProntoMail. Instead of going for WhatsApp, they go to Telegram. These are hundreds of millions of users. You take, for example, the search engine Google. People don't want to go for it. They use DuckDuckGo, or they use the French search engine Quant. This is over 70 million people. Telegram is over 200 million users. Signal as well, over 20 million. ProntoMail over 20 million. So you get my point. So basically, this market is already huge. And this is taking into consideration that all these users who are using these private solutions are already taking the sacrifice of giving up some convenience. Because all these solutions I just mentioned are actually not for the average user, because they're giving up something. Our solution, actually, we just tell you, okay, we're giving you exactly a Dropbox, but that you own.
Thank you very much. I'll go over to Saloni.
So thank you for that. That was great. I'm just curious, and this is sort of following on from Joe's question. So all of those examples that you mentioned, it's not a one or the other. And so I'm curious, this one would require me to transfer my files because I don't want to be using something that is lacking in privacy. I use Telegram, but I also use WhatsApp. And so I'm curious, I don't know if it's a like for like comparison, and what would be the inconvenience of making sure that my data and my files are stored in the correct place versus what they're already currently stored in. And so can you provide a little bit more detail on that and how that's actually going to be achieved with this product?
Okay, so just to come back to the example where you said that you're both using Telegram and WhatsApp, in the same way, actually, I don't think all of our users will exclusively use Duple. So for example, I myself, I'm not a tech guy, right? And I try to be more privacy focused. I know that some files I have, whether it's for business or personal files, I will always keep them with me. There's no way I'm putting in on a public cloud. So you can actually juggle between the two of them if you want. There's nothing stopping you from using files that you don't really care about and still using Dropbox for whatever reason, or a Google Drive, and then you use Duple for private files. We realized a lot of people are really not comfortable, even when they say they use the likes of Dropbox and Google Drive, they don't put all their files in it because of these privacy concerns. And I think with the crisis right now, what's happening, people are going to get even more and more privacy aware because a lot of companies are being exposed.
Yeah. Thank you.
No worries.
And then over lastly to David, please.
All right, thanks for that. I found that interesting from a sort of personal basis. Obviously, you got a buying signal from Andrew, so I'd send him a form quickly. But from my perspective, my interest in this is that I sold out in an from an IT security business about 18 months ago. That was B2C, and obviously there's a big difference between B2B and sorry, that was B2B. But then there's a big difference between B2B and B2C, and B2B business sales in this area are really can be quite difficult to achieve. So the questions I had for you were around how hard do you think this is for somebody, an established cybersecurity firm to replicate, and B, how much effort have you put into thinking about B2B sales? Because there's long lead time, and you know, whether you think this is going to be a direct sale or whether you think this is going to be something that you'd license so that somebody who's already making B2B sales can add on. So if that, there's probably a question in there somewhere.
Okay, so to the first part of the question, so first of all, we're starting with B2C. Long run will be B2B because that's an enormous market.
Yeah.
To the first part of the question about someone replicating what we did, so it took a long time, full time for a professional hacker to develop this technology, because what essentially we did is remove the need for a server to have a full cloud, and no one does this. So it took a long time to develop it. So first of all, the technology is quite insane and very hard, technically speaking, to replicate. Second of all, if you take the likes of let's say the big players, Dropbox, Google, to replicate the technology is not in their interest, because first they have a business model that's based on collecting data, and second of all, Dropbox, the likes of Dropbox and a lot of other companies invested huge sums of money in servers, so they don't even close to the idea of having a cloud without a server. Second part of the question, could you just repeat the second part of the question?
Well, I think it was more about the B2B strategy, because my experience, and whether that means it would be your experience, is that lead-in time for B2B sales is huge. There's a huge process in there, you know, whether it's penetration testing or all those sorts of things. So I was also sort of interested in whether you saw that B2B sales would be direct sales by you, or whether you would be looking to do deals with people already supplying that market and then license your product as an add-on, so that, you know, every time, I don't know, Gemalto or one of these firms, when they sell, they're not called that anymore, are they? But every time one of these firms sell their product, they included your stripe of product in there as well. So I was interested in what your strategy was.
Okay, so obviously, like again, so B2B is more long run. There are a lot of different strategies we can implement. So I think we thought about different things. So I think direct sales is definitely one of them. Partnerships will be an essential plan of our strategy, but that will already start at the B2C level when it comes to partnership. Second of all, when it comes to type of maybe profiles of businesses, we're going to target, essentially with B2B, we're going to target typical structure of small businesses from 1 to 5 employees. That will be the main target we will have.
Okay, so you're not going to be going for the big, you're not going to go for the big company. Okay, that makes.
That will not be the first target, no.
Super, thank you very much. So Louis, you were the last pitch of the evening, so I'll ask you if you could stop sharing your screen, that'd be great. I'm going to hopefully flip back to everybody for a gallery view, so hopefully you can see everyone. While the judges complete their scoring, we will put up the final poll. So hopefully I will be able to move over, and here we go. So this is your final poll for this evening for all of the audience to participate in. We'll leave this open. And let the judges complete their scoring. So thank you everyone so much again for joining this evening. As I said, as We Coffee, we'll do one of these events once a month during this period. We were doing them in our physical spaces. As We Coffee, we provide access to a community of freelancers and entrepreneurs across London, to a whole range of different events and workspaces. So we have free workspaces, team meeting and event spaces, and amazing co-work spaces you can access really flexibly, designed and tailored to be towards those flexible workers and entrepreneurs. This is one of our very formal events. We do some relaxed co-working and networking events as well. And I'll let Arno share in the chat a link to where our events page is, so you guys can go and take a look over here. So hopefully I will leave it open for another sort of 20-30 seconds, but I think we've got the last few votes in. And it's going to be interesting to see, as always, how this compares over to the judges' scores. So we'll end the polling over here, and I will share the final results. So we have here in the lead Duple, then Strykin, then Handset, Prepaired, Think Like Pro, and TwistedMirror. We had about 50% again of the room who responded to the vote. So again, I remind people, if you are joining on Zoom calls through your desktop and you use the browser instead of the app, I'm really sorry that you can't participate in the polling. So let's see how this compares over to the panel's results as well. I'm just checking to see we've got all of the scores in. Cool, so we have all the scores from 3 of our panelists, and we have in first place with an average score of 2.2, and I apologize, it would have been divided by 4, but because we have 3 panels, so the top score goes to Duple. So congratulations to Duple. And then we have in second place, Handset Expert. And in third place, and I'm going to make sure we call it right, and we have all the scores in. And in third place, it is Strykin Live. So congratulations, guys. What I will do is I will share all the contact details from the people who were pitching tonight and joined us to pitch over with our judges. So thank you so much again to Saloni Bhojwani for joining us. Thank you to David Thompson and to Andrew Davidson and to Joe Thornton joining us from Playfair Capital. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, guys.